You get to
good
sit.
to be here,
doesn't it?
Yeah, it's really nice.
The next best thing in the media in Ghana, we also have a gorgeous lady, pink, green, splashed all over, looking like candy, really. Belinda.
Hi.
Belinda is a gorgeous wife of the hosts of the 3FMDrive, Giovani. Belinda Boedu is a founder of Atana Women.
Yes.
And you were here last year for the same...
I was here last year and I had your seat last year. So it's a little bit exciting to be on this side of the table this time. So yes, I'm really excited to be here with you today.
Wonderful. And where are your kids, by the way?
The number one question that he always wants to know, they are at home. The kids are at home.
So how much time did you get to doll yourself up like this with those little kids all over you?
5 minutes?
Is it? Good job. Not bad.
At all.
Not bad. Eyeshadow, everything, 5 minutes.
When you're running the operation.
Anyway, so guys, this is going to be a wonderful conversation. You could chime in, send us your text messages, let us know what you think. But the International Women's Day, as I said, is a special day. And today on The Drive, this convo is giving us this platform for us to celebrate our women and their immeasurable inputs into building families, building careers, steering socioeconomic engines for growth. And we know that we're more than the men. I mean, 51%, isn't it? I mean, the statistics are clear all over the world. It's not just in Ghana. So, of course, we do have a voice.
Yes.
And we should use that voice. So, guys, join in, send us your messages. Let's know what you're thinking. This is the 3FM Drive, and this is a special platform to celebrate International Women's Day on today, March 8th. Do stay with us. We'll be right back. The Drive, 3FM Drive, 3FM 92.7. AJ and Belinda, well, let's get conversing. We have done this all the time, and the men are always jealous and saying, why do we have an International Women's Day and then we have a Mother's Day? You know, because they just have a Father's Day. And so we get to do a double on them on this one. But I think that everybody, even most men, do agree that women do deserve, you know, this break and this celebration, because it's always been a man's world. And this time around, I think our voices are getting stronger and stronger. I don't know about legislation in Ghana, but in other places, people are getting 1 year maternity leaves. People get family paid leave.
There's now period leave, which I was so excited about. I think I'll find out. One of the European countries has actually signed off on period leave. Like you get an opportunity when you're cramping to actually stay at home, because we all feel like it's like an out-of-body experience when you're in that period of time. And it's nice that for those that have really, really painful periods every month,
like endometriosis,
people get an opportunity. Yes, people actually suffer. And it's really nice to know that legislation is moving towards that direction on how to make women more comfortable in every aspect of their lives.
That's wonderful. Have you heard of anything, Belinda, that's out of the norm because I know that in the UK you could do more than 3 months for maternity, couldn't you?
Well,
could you?
You can actually. You can take up to a year's leave, but then the pay you get is capped. So from my understanding, you get 3 months that is at your regular rate, and then it's capped. So even if you're sort of earning something like 10,000 a month, it then suddenly gets capped at something like 2,000 or 1,000. So it still helps.
It does help. I think it's still something.
Yeah.
We'll take it.
Definitely.
Right?
Absolutely.
Anyway, so let's get into a serious conversation. Guys, as I said, you can send in your text messages. Send us what you think. We're open to receive your messages and to, also have a conversation with you and engage you. Now, let's go to the home, because this thing of unpaid work at home, I think is still touchy, because most people still don't understand that it is quite a bit of work running a home. Isn't it?
It certainly is. I mean, I couldn't agree with you more. I think people who, so I stay at home full time, but then maybe it's not fair to categorize me under necessarily a stay at home mom, because I do run like multiple different engines. But that being said, oftentimes I feel like one of the hardest engines I run is running the home. There's so many facets to it. There's so many different things that you need to be on the ball for. And, you know, whereby maybe as a regular employed person, you can come to work, you know, you do your work, you go on your break, you take your lunch, you know, all of those elements do not exist.
And you get to be away from children.
Maybe one of
for about 9 hours,
but those things don't exist when you're essentially, you know, running a household. And as you rightly said, people don't really understand just what is involved, what it takes to do that. So it's something that requires good looking into.
It does. And AJ, I think that most people overlook this and they forget that you put in so much, but you really just get very little out of it. Whether you have children or not, whether you live by yourself or you live with a partner or a husband or whatever it is a lot of work still running a home and giving of yourself, so much of yourself, and really not getting any nurturing back. Absolutely. So how are we going to solve this issue of getting a bit of nurturing back ourselves? Belinda, you are married.
Yes.
How are you going to manage getting some nurturing back and making sure that he has kids' duty? And home duty.
Speaking about Giovani specifically,
this is not fair. We've put him on the spot.
A bit more difficult.
I might be on the wild goose chase, but to be fair, I mean, looking at the dynamics in my home, he's so hardworking, and you know, we don't get to see him very often because, as you guys are probably more aware than I am, he's so involved with work. If he's not here, he's, you know, running a different project. So, you know, the lengthy times the kids and I get with him is far and few between, but he does manage to make it extremely quality time when, you know, he's, especially with the kids, they'll run around, they'll play, they'll do all the silly things that they love doing. So somehow that sticks in their mind probably so much more than the 22 hours that I spend with them. So yeah, I mean, yeah, it's touch and go, but we're making it work somehow.
You have to make it work somehow. But the thing is that we're continually giving of ourselves. How do we get some nurturing back? How do we take back some of our time? How do we take back some of our resources? How do we make sure that we're getting a massage every now and then? I mean, how do you put that into the mix? For somebody like you, AJ, how, I mean, going forward, because it's important.
It is. And I have amazing friends who have to now strike this life-work balance and have families and children. And I always look at them and how do you have enough hours in the day to be able to do all of that? Me, I don't have kids. I've not been blessed with kids yet, but I'm like,
but you still don't have enough time.
Taking care of just even one person alone it feels like a burden sometimes. But honestly, I think that's why I'm so excited about this year's theme about embracing equity, because a lot of times when people talk about gender equality, we don't realize that for equality to happen, we need true equity. Because, and I always place this analogy. When two people from different backgrounds are given one opportunity, if it's not fair, one will suffer over the other. I'll give you an example. An impoverished child from a disadvantaged background gets an opportunity after maybe passing a great exam to go to an Ivy League school, while a child goes through brilliant A schools and gets an opportunity to go to the same school. Immediately, they both resume school. One is almost always the impoverished child, is based on how little they got and how many little opportunities they were exposed to, will automatically be on the losing side, because here everyone is assumed that you have a basic level of something and you have to build on that. But if you've had very little of that, you need some fairness, but you need to maybe have some extra courses to be able to beef you up on where you need to, or something to help you battle alongside others. So that's how I think the male-female dynamic is. females from the beginning of Ghana as we know it, and how the colonial setting sort of created where women were not allowed to go to school because colonial times men were more seen as the ones that can be able to go into governance and leadership, and women were rather placed in the home care. So for women, for the longest time, were not able to go to school. So when that women were now open to be able to go to school, that gender gap had already been wide. I mean, and now fast forward, we have situations where a lot of men assume that or presume women should be able to work like they have no homes and manage their homes like they have no work, and are unable to realize that women are honestly, in as much as we act like superwomen or super people, we really aren't.
Just people.
We're just humans that are trying to find a balance. And if the men do not become our allies, and that's why we need to also bring the men along, because they need to be our allies. They need to understand that Belinda's had a really long day. She's been on different phone calls. She's had to manage the home, and at the end of the day, she needs an opportunity to be able to break and also recharge her batteries, and like many other women across the country who need an opportunity to do that. So once you understand that you need to be fair in all aspects, especially for those that we sometimes see that as unskilled work, being a housewife, but they're the most
it's very skilled work, really.
People.
It is very skilled work.
Imagine waking up each day, taking care of little ones, making sure the home is done, laundry, cooking, groceries, calculations, balancing equations.
It's crazy. I know some men who can't even hold a newborn because it's really just too much.
And
so I mean, how then do you see the person who has to deal with this newborn, 24/7 to make sure they stay alive, just to keep them alive, really? So it's quite a bit of work, and I'm a home person, and I really like housework and stuff. I like it. Doesn't mean that I want to do it all the time, So
therein lies the difference.
Yeah, therein lies the difference.
You want to do it on your terms,
right? So it has to be fair, and I like Justin Trudeau, the Canadian Prime Minister. He's the first male feminist that I know. He's such a feminist, and he's come along so well and trying to drag all of the men up into the game, to let them get it, because I think the test is just to put a man through something.
Yes.
Right.
Put him through the whole day and getting everything that you get done in a day, and let's see how you fare.
Yeah.
So now that we've talked about a home, I think we should move. I mean, we all work. AJ and I work in corporate. Yes. You run different businesses. Do we still have to do that much to get ahead?
Yes.
We do?
Yes. And I think it stems from the fact that every woman's failure is a failure on all women, but every man's failure is a failure on him. And we still have that narrative going on in 2023 where when you place a woman in a particular position and she's unable to deliver for whatever reason, it becomes a thing of women are not supposed to be placed in that position. So every woman has to prove a lot, not only for herself and not only to advance, but also has a burden of doing it well enough that the next person that wants that opportunity can be able to walk through those doors. So there's always an extra burden on every woman that is in a great field or in a great sector to do better so the next person can be able to get in. Because if you don't do it well enough,
it's like you open the door.
It closes the door to everybody else. So there's a constant pressure all the time to overdo because you have to do it not only for you but for every other female.
Yeah. Belinda, you run different businesses. Of course, you're an entrepreneur and you're doing it all. And you're doing it great, by the way.
Thank you.
So let's talk about what you have to face. You deal with different people. You have to deal with service providers, you have to deal with financiers, you have to deal with different people, customers, and so on and so forth. Do you feel that as a woman you have to do a little bit more? Or because some people think, well, it's pretty easy, you're a woman, people like to look at beautiful things and you're beautiful, so end of story. Do you feel as if when it comes to dealing with what they quote unquote serious things, like going to see a financier or an investor, do you feel as if you have to say more to get more believed or to be taken seriously?
I would say that generally speaking, to just kind of touch on some of the things AJ spoke about, there is such a major layer of additional dynamics that a woman has to deal with that doesn't necessarily apply to a man. When I'm having to go into a meeting, I don't just go, yep, let me, tick, let me look at my spreadsheet and head off. I have to essentially think about all of the dynamics to do with that project or that piece of work. Then I have to think about all the dynamics to do with my children. Are they going to be okay whilst I'm gone? Are they going to be fed? Have they had that bath? So even those so-called minor things already puts you like 3 steps behind the man who just gets to get up and go, off I go, Then you're maybe looking at aesthetic things. How will I be taken serious?
What should I wear?
Pink lipstick, am I going to be taken serious? If I wear heels, will they sexualize me a bit too much for that meeting? So then you're thinking about that layer of dynamics. But then also when you walk into a meeting, you're fighting unseen battles. A great example is, I remember, this is going back many, many moons. I applied for, this is back when I was working, I applied for a role that I knew was way above me, right? Okay. I applied just a shot in the dark, and lo and behold, I was invited for an interview. I actually performed extremely well in the interview, and I was immediately called back into like the final stages, dealing with, interestingly, the men in the room. They thought I was extremely competent, wanted me on board the team. The moment I sat in my final interview and I was faced with a woman, she wrote me off instantly. Wow. And these are additional dynamics, especially this year we're looking about women sort of supporting and pushing each other on in order to gain equity. But she wrote me off immediately. The entire interview, she did not look at me once. You could tell she looked at me, walked through that door, and she went, she's too young. This was in the UK, so she went, she's a black girl. This role is way above her. She doesn't know what she's talking about. And she didn't give me the due respect even to grant me the opportunity to explain myself during that interview. She asked me extremely condescending questions and shortened the interview. She pretty much went, well, I don't really think this is going to go anywhere. And looked at the men like, why on earth did this young lady get to this stage? And in the meantime, I'd delivered presentations that were mind-blowing. I'd had conversation and delivered a full-scale plan as to how I was going to handle that department.
That's a shame.
So you have so many unseen dynamics that we're often having to deal with when you're either in a corporate environment or when you're handling your own business. You often even feel that you need men to be allies for you to get a step through the door. A man has to essentially qualify you and say, I've done some work with, over and above the average.
Is it to say that we need some sort of validation from the male race?
I personally don't think we do. But I feel like the world isn't designed in such a way that you are going to make greater strides if you have it. Yes.
But for instance, you met this woman who didn't give you a chance. One chance at all. Do you think that we need validation from other women?
Absolutely, because, for example, I feel like one of the things would have been that she's threatened. And sometimes that's the things that you face. You're a woman. A good friend of mine, similar experience, went into an interview, and because the woman felt that she was overqualified, that she would come and take her job as the manager. So often you have these kind of threatened vibes going on, which doesn't do us any favors. But if we understood that actually when we stand together, we are much stronger, and we are going to make such a greater impact than when we're trying to walk it alone.
This friend of mine also had this experience where she was in a job. She was pretty good at her job. I mean, brilliant. And then she got a new boss who was another lady, much older, more experienced, and when you look at the dynamic of their positioning in the company, this one's way above this one. She's way above my friend. There's no way you should compete on any level, because really, you're not on the same level. Go compete with your mates. But she did everything to kick my friend out of the job. Yeah, she did everything, and eventually she had to leave. She had to leave. Absolutely. you know, I mean, she's got a better thing going now. But in the end, it was pretty sad, and it's quite depressing for her. So now that we're talking about this, let's just go into this myth of women being overly stern when in leadership positions. Is it just a stereotype, or is this true to some extent?
I think it's a negative stereotype that's been just created because
created.
Okay, let me explain.
We have to be fair here, isn't it?
So I do think that sometimes we have certain women, and I think largely is how things are play out, or how people sort of try and orient others, or how society has sort of pitched women against each other to sort of create this illusion that there can only be one head female at the same time. That there can be different men that can have different roles, and that's okay. But only one woman can excel at a time, and one has to go for the other to come. And when another new person comes in, that person is automatically going to kick you out. So there's this false illusion that is being created.
But I think it came from the fact that at some point women were described as a minority, which is so untrue because everywhere in the world there are many more women than the men. But it's almost like women have been suppressed for so long that
I suppose you didn't have your rights. You weren't able to vote. You weren't able to hold a bank account. You weren't able to even own land. And even it's true to some form. Even in Ghana, that some women cannot buy land and homes on their own. They need some male validation to be able to do that. But coming to that, I honestly feel that when a woman shows signs of masculinity, because sometimes we attribute ambition and assertiveness as a masculine trait. So when people start to show too much ambition or too much assertiveness, or are not willing to take anything that is served their way, and they are willing to stand up for what they believe in, they're almost seen in that light, and that automatically makes her, she's not some type of way, or she's not feminine enough, or she's pushing too much, or she's bulldozing her way. So we realize that even when women in power and women in leadership who just show
a bit of that,
very assertive traits, people start to almost make it seem as if they're masculine, and then they're usurping the masculine power, and then they're being a certain kind of way. But when a man does it, and a man is assertive or ambitious, or doesn't take it, that's how men are supposed to be. But women are seen, or supposed to be seen, as this delicate. And even if you're trying to exert your power, you have to be mindful so you don't offend someone, because when you offend the wrong sentiments, you're seen in a completely different light.
So you're saying that people say that, women in power are so stern because they've got some charisma, or they're very assertive, and so
on. It's just generally traits that men also have. But when a woman shows it, then it becomes something else altogether.
I actually think men are more dramatic than women.
I can agree.
From experience. It's a shame that they're not seen in that way. But I know a lot of men who are so dramatic and who are so competitive.
I think I'll add to that conversation that what's also happened is because so much has changed in terms of the fact that women are entering the world, so to speak, the corporate environment, and we are taking up positions that we didn't previously used to take up. Everything that we are exuberating, everything we're showing has to be analyzed in comparison to a man.
Because it's new,
because it's new to them. So it's either okay, you're being feminine, and therefore if the job isn't getting done, it's because you are a woman, or you're being very, very masculine, stern, all those other types of qualities or variables, and that's because you are a man. But really, people are not seeing people as just people, having a human experience, and this is how I behave in this environment. Some women may well think that in order to get ahead, or in order to get the buy-in from men, they have to behave more masculine. And I think in a lot of cases it's true. In certain environments, if you don't come across that way, you might not be taken serious. It may seem like you are exhibiting favoritism to females because you're coming across very feminine. But I think it's due time that people just had the opportunity to be themselves. If you're a terrible boss, or if you're a terrible leader, let that be down to the fact that you're simply a terrible leader. And not because you are female or male.
Because it's like men are allowed to be bad bosses and allowed to be bad leaders. But when a woman does it, oh my God, women are not women. Why would women take it some type of way?
But AJ, you'd think that in 2023. Yeah. I mean, this is not 1999 anymore. This is 2023. And you'd think that people would get used to this idea of not just judging you because you wear a skirt or, you know.
You would hope.
Isn't it about time?
There are so many different reasons why it's going to take a while longer. And I think one of the greatest things we as women can do for ourselves is keep standing up and raising up our voices and taking the right action to make this sort of playing field, if you will, even. Because as I said, there are some situations where we play into that court where we don't favor ourselves, and there are other instances where it is very much, you know, this whole man's world vibe that produces these kinds of results. But the more we interact, the more we engage, the more we push each other on and essentially raise each other up, the less of this we're going to end up seeing, because you rightfully said, you know, we are not the minority.
No,
we never have been.
The world,
it's so funny how, you know,
the world has to absolutely get used to the fact that we're here to stay. There is this weird vibe that feels like, oh no, we're not really here to stay.
I mean, it's a phase.
We'll
They'll go
disappear
away
again, and that's simply not the case. We're only going to, you know,
own our space and do more.
So accept it.
You know, I've got friends that, I mean, of course, it's International Women's Day. I've had discussions with some friends of mine on some platforms, you know, old girls, you know, school and so on. And a lady came up with the fact that I think we should blame our mothers. You are a mother to a son.
Yes,
Belinda.
a son and a daughter.
I don't have a son. I have a daughter. You are a mother to a son. How are you going to make sure that your son doesn't grow up with these stereotypes? Because I think that some of our brothers, you know, who are contemporaries now, also have these same ideologies and behave in these same ways that we abhor because of how our mothers brought them up.
This is a thought and a conversation that I have very regularly. I run something called Atana Women, and part of our platform is Atana Mums. So we talk about all things motherhood, all things to do with children, you know, womanhood. And a major conversation that goes on often is, you know, how do we ensure that our sons don't have the traits of, say, our husbands that we don't really like, parts of where we feel maybe our mother-in-laws let us down, those kinds of conversations.
Men picking up to themselves.
Yes, and for me, I do have the privilege of having both a son and a daughter, and one of my number one rules is treat them equally. I'm not anything. Don't say to my son, "You're a man, don't cry," and don't say to my girl, "Oh, princesses don't do that sort of thing." If he can engage in it, so can my daughter. If she can engage in it, so can my son. But I'm also very cautious about sort of psychological things as well. My boy being his character being very strong and having very strong principles. And I've noticed that my girl does this kind of manipulative thing where she'll convince her brother to give her something that she wants because she'll pretend she's upset.
Oh, no.
And that gets to me equally, because I equally don't want my son to grow up into a man who is easily manipulated by a woman's tears. So it's a fine balance that I have to strike between making sure that, yes, my girl grows up a strong, confident woman who embraces her emotional side, but also knows that she can go out and conquer. And equally, that my boy grows up as a strong individual who is allowed to show emotions, who's able to tap into his emotional or femininity, essentially, without it being an issue or without being said, you know, boys don't cry, boys don't do that. He's a human being and he's having a human experience, and so is my girl. But it's a very important narrative for me, because, you know, when you notice some of the things that the parents ahead of us, you feel like they could have skewed maybe a little bit more to favor us or to make sure that we are on an equal playing field.
I mean, AJ, do you have brothers?
Help. I do. I have 4 of them.
Right.
And I regret to say that they really were socialized in a way that the gentlemen these days are. But I'm happy that they've realized their socialization from younger, or from when they were younger, is not the same way they're going to treat their children or allow their children grow up in.
Right.
Society has skewed us towards.
They get it?
Towards some weird. I think they do.
Do you have these conversations?
I try to. So thankfully, all my brothers have girls as well. So they've understood the fact that they now have a responsibility to empower my nieces, and some of my sisters also have boys, and know that they have a responsibility to empower their sons and my nephews to do better for females that they get. So they do their chores, they know how to cook, the whole 9 yards. And having conversations with some of my family members, you realize that we all understand that society skewed these gender roles from the beginning. How we all, as girls, grew up liking dolls and having our first Barbie as the first gift you get.
Absolutely.
And how the boys always got like trucks
the whole 9 yards.
And all those, and guns. And we're told to be very masculine, and you can't cry, and
you can't
vulnerabilities
come to the kitchen
are bad
when we're cooking.
Go and read, go and play ball, but the girls should cook.
Can I just quickly ask, every time I buy my girl a doll, I buy my boy a male version doll for him.
Fantastic.
And every time I buy my boy a truck, the girl gets one too.
We're all going to learn how to take care of a baby.
Absolutely.
From the beginning.
Oftentimes my boy is even better at it than my girl is.
He will carry it well, and he will back it.
I mean, I'm happy to say that I have pretty forward-looking parents.
Yes.
So my brothers can do everything.
I love that.
My brothers can cook. They can do everything.
Wow.
It was never really the case where they, were kicked out of the kitchen. But I get these stories from many of my friends. I mean, I saw these things happen in friends' homes and so on when I was growing up. So I really think I can agree with this, how our mothers started this whole thing and how their mothers did it too. Yeah. I think they just picked it from there. But I think that we have come up
I think so.
In a world that's opened our eyes to something completely different.
And I also think that our mothers, especially with the millennials and then the Gen Zs, our mothers did so well with trying to change that narrative. A lot of us were encouraged to chase our dreams, to go to the highest point of the academic ladder that we chose to.
Right.
And because they understood that they were deprived of certain opportunities, they were not allowed to go to the full extent, pursue their ambitions as far as they could. So they were very happy to push us in that direction. And I think they empowered us enough to be able to do more for our children to come. And I would hope that would lead on. And perhaps in our lifetime, we will actually see a point where there's actual equality or maybe even equity amongst the genders, and we'll realize that the men do not, because honestly, and we're having this conversation earlier today on New Day, when there's actual equity, men will suffer less. So
I know, isn't it?
Imagine you like a girl and you don't have to pay for anything because the girl has her own money.
The girl
she will not ask for Mobo. She will not ask for Uber. Can you imagine?
She's not immediately a charity case.
She's not. She doesn't ask anything from you. Life will be good though. Life will be very good.
It's the fear of the unknown.
0.7. My name is Nancy Vokane and I'm hosting Belinda and AJ Sapon this afternoon. It's International Women's Day and we're talking about women empowerment. We're talking about embracing equity. This year's theme is on embracing equity. Join us to celebrate women that are thriving in the digital space, in innovation, in technology, and just women thriving generally. And we've been having an interesting conversation and we'll see how our brothers or how our husbands and our sons come up going forward to appreciate what we have to go through as women, because we really aren't on the same footing. But now that we're still on this conversation, let me ask if women are better leaders than men. Belinda, you go. I think I know where AJ stands already.
You know what? I want to say it depends, but I think women probably have a more holistic grounding in comparison to men. I think it depends on in which field we're looking at leadership, and on what basis we're looking at leadership. But say, for example, if we're looking at, women running a country, so in government, women as presidents, women as prime ministers. A great example is countries where they currently do have female leaders already, who certainly look to be doing a better job for the people of the country because they come from a better understanding. That experience seems to give them a grounding that helps them understand this is what this party needs, this is what this party needs, because either they've walked it before, they've experienced it before, or they've been in close correlation and contact to having to have or engage with that experience. So I think in some fronts, that's the case. But again, I will go back to saying that when we're looking at leadership, you want to go for the best candidate that can do the right job and bring you the best results.
I don't really discriminate when it comes to leadership. I don't necessarily think women are better leaders. Belinda, you talked about having a human experience.
Yes.
I think it's just the culmination of your human experiences that makes you either a good or a bad leader. Yep. Belinda, you are from the UK. Liz Truss, horrid. Well. Never seen anything this bad in my life. I would rather Boris Johnson any day than Liz Truss. She was there for 6 weeks.
Yeah.
She
make it
horrid. Yeah, I mean, she was barely there. So I'm sorry, but I don't know about women being better leaders. I think that leaders are born in a way, and some are made. Some grow and learn to be leaders, but generally it's just my thinking. So I do not really discriminate or say, well, women will make better leaders. I think it's just your human experience is coming together.
Can we
AJ,
look back a
AJ
little
says
bit,
women
though?
are better experience.
I just on the Liz Truss front, don't make it that she was horrid because she was a woman. She was just horrid.
She was just horrid.
And she's just a human. Fair, she had to take up after a situation that was already really bad. And I think oftentimes that's what happens. Women are given the opportunity to, shall I say, shine when they have to take over from a really bad situation. And this is not just position of leadership. I think this even happens in the home. You might end up telling your husband, don't do this, don't do it that way, don't do it. He won't listen. And then when it all goes pear-shaped, he comes to you and says, I messed up. And then you have to kind of untangle it.
And pick it all up,
you're told you've done a bad job on the basis that you're a woman and not on the basis that it was a really terrible situation you were left with.
I mean, I think that's where then we have a problem because it happened with Theresa May. She literally was weeping most of the time when it came to the Brexit conversation and trying to work that through. So I mean, I think the problem we have is in the end it's concluded that this happened because she was female. AJ, you think women are better leaders?
I think we are based on our empathy. Women have a lot more empathy than
do they?
I think
necessarily?
So. I think we do. I think we feel more, and we can place ourselves in a situation better than some men, and generally are able to see things from different perspectives, which also adds to the leadership quality that I think shines through. Because when you look at women that run big homes and run businesses, and even in our informal sector, which is made up mostly of women, you realize that we're able to create and still manage to find some interesting balance to make it all work. In the home, we're able to balance many kids and we have a whole battalion, but make sure that everyone grows up right. But in touching on what you said, I think largely another reason why some people might think women are not good leaders may rise from tokenism. So in an effort to be for affirmative action, people feel the need to place a woman there. But sometimes it's like placing square pegs in round holes. We need to place any woman there. And
just any woman.
Just any woman.
Just to make up the numbers. Just to cater for the diversity quota.
Yes. Let's just
like
jazz it up.
One black person
and then
popping in one Asian.
Exactly.
And that's
then not because they are qualified to be there, not because they are capable of doing the work that you place them to do, but because you just want to put a woman there. And in this particular, in a lot of the situations, because they're like square pegs and round holes, because you just have to have a token person.
You have to have a woman there.
You end up, they end up not being able to live up to the role, to the location, to the job, and then you now sum it up as, well, we gave her an opportunity and she failed. As against, let's look for a competent, qualified woman, possibly even make it an open to women, but pick the most qualified out of them and leave them to do the work. Once you put and you get those opportunities and you put the most qualified person there, you realize that they shine. But when you have to randomly pick one because, oh, she's a woman, let's put her there, and they end up failing, then it becomes a reinforcement of the stereotype that, yes, women are unable to lead, women are unable to take the forefront, women are unable to push when they need to. So a lot of times I do feel that women are better leaders, but we just need to sieve through and find the best possible options and put there. And that also goes down to the point where are women willing to put themselves out there?
That's the thing.
Especially let's look at it
especially in politics.
Exactly.
Because it costs so much to be a politician.
Like the partisan side and the way people will throw mud on your name and the way they'll put you out and you're vilified. And you think, do I really want to put myself and my family through this? But there are a lot of wonderful women, very qualified women that can take so many roles and actually lead all the way through. But you feel that a lot of them won't go there because A, they don't have a godfather who can steer them through there. It's a very expensive process. Even though we say affirmative action in trying to push a lot more women in politics, we actually in real time do not do that.
No,
we don't push as well. We don't finance as well. We don't give them opportunities.
There are a few NGOs who belong to the net rights, the women's rights groups and so on, who, you know, pick a certain woman and support her and so on. And it's getting some women, especially into grassroots leadership in terms of local government leadership and so on, but it's still very much a men's club.
But the operative word that you said is that they will pick a few women and take them through this process. So our starting point, if the starting point is level 1, we are starting at level 0.5.
That's right.
Because we don't have the same advantages presented before us. Even if you're sieving through the best women to take up for the role, because we weren't given the same opportunities, even at the basic level, when you come to pick from, you know, the best, you might have 10 candidates and you will only find that maybe 1 or 2 of them are women, and then
are willing.
Exactly.
Quite right, depending on what industry you're in. And then when you look into the variables that it takes for you to then pick one of those 2 women, and let's look at the corporate world, you're going to calculate how old is she. One of the questions that shouldn't be asked is, I was once asked, are you planning on having more children? What does that have to do with anything? That is like one of the number 1 things that puts us at a disadvantage, because your employer will look at you. If you're going to have more children, he or she's going to calculate how much time that means you're going to be taking off work and say, no, I'm going to pick this lesser qualified man over this much more qualified woman, because in the long run, he's not going to have to take time off work. Even if the woman's done having kids, for example, he might not have to take days off where the kid is sick and therefore she needs to be at home running the home.
He's probably
there's so many variables that puts us at a disadvantage when it comes to running for positions in leadership. And then some of the things that AJ mentioned as well, you know, because I do agree, we do have more empathy and we have a foresight that looks at things beyond us. So we're going to think about things like, how will this impact my children? How will this impact my family? If I do this, if I go in this direction and they smear my reputation, it's going to affect my children. But maybe a man doesn't have to think about it so much because he knows he will get through it. He will end up being in that position, and then he'll be able to lift his children up regardless. So therein lies the major difference.
And honestly, even with policies, something like maternity leave, I mean, I would say it as many times as I can. 3 months is not enough.
It's really
3 months isn't enough.
I don't know who came up with that.
How do you assume that people will pop up babies?
And be fine.
Bodies will change.
Yeah.
They have to get used to a brand new body.
Yeah.
And a brand new baby that depends on them.
And doesn't sleep at night.
Even exclusive breastfeeding is 6 months, and you say 3 months, come back to work.
I think that policy conversation is something that we've pulled the brakes on, but I think it's something that we should be having, going forward. It's something that we should really take seriously, because if you have the privilege of living in other places, like some of us have, people stay at home for a year, and even that's sometimes not enough, because some people have to go through postpartum depression. Some people have very complex periods and other issues once they've had a baby. I mean, there are a plethora of issues that come up with women's bodies once they've popped up a baby. I mean, carry through the gestation and then popped it out. It's really quite. It's heavy. It's heavy. It's not a joke. So I think that it's a conversation that we really have to pick up again. But we've just got 5 minutes to the top of the hour, 7 o'clock, where we will have the news coming in.
When you're having fun.
Producer says we're going to 7:30.
Oh, come on, you producer.
Well, it's a special edition, so we're taking the mantle and we're moving forward. But in this day and age, when we say we want to embrace equity, when we say that we need to fight on to get women where they're supposed to be, I feel generally that we're lucky to be from here. I think Ghana is fairly reasonable when it comes to even our cultures are not as bad. Because I've seen some pretty stern, pretty, and even for people like me who are probably a tourist somewhere, it applies to you. When you're landing in Iran, I remember you're given a scarf on the plane.
Wow.
You have to walk with a man and that sort of thing. You have to ask permission from your little brother who's probably 5 years old
to take you
out. It's pretty bad. So I feel lucky, really. I feel blessed to be from this country, really, at this time of emancipation, of women empowerment. I don't think we're that bad, but I think that when it comes to politics and when it comes to legislation, we're a bit far behind. So what are we really fighting at this point?
I think...
What are we fighting to get ahead? What should we be talking about? What should we be doing? Are we still going to keep pushing for affirmative action to be law? I mean, what are we fighting generally? Are we fighting technology? What are we fighting? What's the fight?
I don't know if we're necessarily fighting, but we really do want to be heard equally to men. We want to have a voice that is as loud as a man's voice at any given table, whether that table is politics, whether that table is leadership, whether that table is corporate. We want to be able to speak and be heard at the same rate and the same level a man is heard. As much as I want to agree with you that definitely Ghana isn't as bad as where other countries are, I do feel like there's still a long way to go. For me, culturally, especially so, of course, I've had the opportunity to live in other countries. I grew up in Belgium, I lived in the UK, so I have a fairly broad understanding of what it takes to live in another culture. And I think culturally, sometimes we are quite far behind in some of the behaviors. Case in point, typically speaking, anyone that comes to my house with an urgent matter or something says, "Is your husband at home?" If they want to discuss something like anything to do with the house, the first question is your husband at home? And that literally drives me bonkers because I know far more about how the house runs, what's going on, what exactly needs to be done. More so than he does, but instantly that's the first thing that they go to. And also the way there's this interesting thing whereby I had to change the thinking of our nanny, where she automatically placed more value on my boy in comparison to the daughter.
No,
in terms
she didn't.
Of even how much food she gave him. And my boy is younger than my daughter, and it was automatic. But it was like orientation and a re-education that in this house it doesn't run that way, and you can't blame her. So many people live like that because the man is to be revered, the man is to be honored, and there's nothing wrong with that, but don't honor the man by trampling on the woman. That's where I think there is a disparity that needs to be addressed. So what we are essentially fighting for, or what we are asking for, is that, look, if we even want to go to the beginning of creation, God created us in his image, and man and woman, he made us. He didn't say, you are higher, you are lesser. We were all formed in his image. I always like to go back to the point that if you want to make the argument, and I'm not going religious, but if you want to go make the argument and say, oh, but the woman is the helpmeet. For me to be your helper, I have to have something that you don't have. Yes. And that's a concept that will completely change your way of operating when you understand it. Absolutely. For me to help you, if you need money, it means you don't have money and I have it. If you need help with something, I'm the one that can help you. So once you change your thinking to that, men will realize that we're far better operating as allies, as partners, than we are competing against each other. If we all find the fact that we are gifted and blessed in various ways, because we are humans and we come with different skills to the table, but even because I am female and you are male, and maybe the way my brain is wired thinks about things differently than you will think of it. So when we put it all together, then we come to a much better conclusion than if we say, let's put 10 men in the room and leave the women outside of it.
Let's drop in one woman so we look like,
we did something.
And when that woman is in the room, let's probably not even really listen to half of the things that she's talking about, because after all, she's a woman. So once we come to the table with 50-50 or even 100-100, we're going to get to a better conclusion quicker than where we are at now.
Let's talk about technology as well.
Yes.
I mean, this year's theme is around technology, using technology to empower women, using technology to grow. AJ, you're a celebrity, more or less. Yes, I mean, you've
a known face.
A celebrated known face.
A celebrated known face. You are active online.
Yes.
You do have an online persona. People know you a certain way, you know. Is that necessarily what you have online?
I think I show different sides of me online.
Okay.
And because...
Are you funny online?
I'm funny in person than I am online. Okay. I feel that I feel that there's certain parts of my personality I haven't fully shown online.
Okay.
I think I'm a very funny person in real life, because I'm always laughing, but then maybe I just like to laugh. But I think generally women are, and it's something perhaps I even need to admit, that I feel the need to show a certain side of myself online, to appeal to my demographic, because you can't show all of you because you're held to a certain kind of standard. So as women, we have to compartmentalize our lives and show certain sides as and when we need to. When you need to be a corporate lady, you have to show a certain side of you. When you're with your friends, there's a different side of you. So women have to wear different hats and have different personalities and be different people at all points in time. And whether it's being a mother full-time at home and letting down your hair and cooking and keeping the home, whether you're killing it in the office like you do, whether you're going out and having a social life and meeting friends, we all have to create different sides of us and put it out there. So largely, I think women are held to different standards than men. A man can show all facets of his life online and no one will judge him for it. But a woman...
He will be celebrated.
Yes.
Really? Come on.
He goes out on Friday night and parties all night. He comes on
really
work on
cool.
Monday and it's good. He still manages to go to church on a Sunday. But a woman is, how can you go out or why are you wearing this? Why are you doing that? Why are you showing this? Yes. But then you can't almost live your life because people expect you to be a certain kind of way. So in terms of how women are on social media, I think a lot of times we are very, I don't know if sheltered is the right word, but very, very withdrawn. Not withdrawn, maybe.
I I generally think
measured, rather.
I think that people just create something that they feel is appealing to a certain demographic that they targeted. So it's a creation of some part of you, because like AJ said, you can't just let it all out. I mean, some people cannot be seen drop dead without makeup. It just will not work on any day. They just will be judged forever. Harshly. Yes. I remember I saw this a couple of weeks ago on Twitter, where Madonna, has done all sorts of surgeries, and she has this face now, which is not recognizable. And then they put her old picture when she was much younger with no plastic surgery, and this one, and the trolls. And I'm thinking, so many men have done so many surgeries that are horrible. Simon Cowell, I mean, I don't know who he is anymore, but he didn't even get half what Madonna is having to deal with.
But interestingly, if she decided to grow old gracefully, she would have.
I think she would have been fantastic.
No, they would have come for her. They would have come for her.
Still, anyway.
Women are supposed to be eternally beautiful, especially women in public positions are supposed to remain a certain way. Like, once the snapshot of you must be the same way for the rest of your life. And so there's this unnatural standard of beauty that women always have to achieve because of the male gaze. And so there's this constant need for perfection. And it's largely because society is told us that once you are a beautiful woman, you can never not be a beautiful woman. You must always maintain that standard.
You've let yourself go because you've grown and you have wrinkles. You've let yourself go.
But
so
a man
for the
can have a
same
portfolio.
thing that the man would have decided to not do surgery, if a woman decided not to do surgery, and I see it online all the time, they get a bashing of a lifetime. Look at her wrinkles. Look at how far she's fallen from grace. And it's like, no, it's just called aging.
She should dress
it's
her
a
age.
Normal
she should look her
life.
age.
So it's a no-win situation. Like, whatever women do, they're going to get bashed for it, whether you decide to do the plastic surgery or whether you don't do it. We're going to get a bashing. So you might as well just do you,
if you want to, fair enough. If you don't,
it should be on your terms, not on the other terms of other people, essentially.
I don't think I've ever been harassed online. I mean, obviously, I'm just this person, I'm no celebrity or whatever, but you AJ, you are, and you by association, Belinda, are a celebrity. Have you had any experiences of being harassed or anything like that online? Anything you can share?
Whether it's inappropriate messages, or whether it's people trying to sexualize you, or whether people are saying that you're looking too fat, or whether people are saying that you need to lose a few pounds, or whether people are saying we don't like that outfit, or you're showing too much, or you're showing too little, or you're not showing enough, or people are, and a lot of men can get and say the most people are perverts on social media, I would say, and they can slide into your DMs and write all sorts of things, and you're supposed to just gracefully take it, because
you can't react, can you?
To react is to be who does she think, is to stir up a whole hornet's nest, because people don't like to be shamed and to be publicly shamed as that. And even though you are violating people's rights, you are invading people's privacy, whether you are writing very inappropriate things to someone else, you're not allowed to comment, because a woman, how can you go on and blast someone like that? It's not right to do. So even with that, you're held to a different kind of standard, where what you would rather do is to tell the person, don't reach out to me, but you're afraid to also do that because you don't want to offend anybody else. So there's this whole balance dance you're trying to make, and it's sometimes it's just a lot.
Belinda, what about you? Have you had to deal with anything online, any trolls coming after you because of who you're married to?
No, I think one thing that I am particularly good at is kind of separating myself from, my husband's personality and, career. I mean, people know we're married, but it's not in your face so much. And when you come on to say any of my social profiles, there is a very specific direction that you see from our lives, and you don't want to skew too far off that. But every now and then people, want to, when certain things come up, people want to drag your name into it. And my best response is no response at all. Like, I know, especially in Ghana, there is this kind of like 6-day rule. If you can keep quiet for 6 days, it will blow over. So just keep quiet, mind your business, keep doing what you do. Like one of the key things I taught my kids from a really early age is rule number 1 is always mind your business. And that's the rule I live by. Mind your business. People will mind that business if you mind yours. Not so much.
Yes. Not good so for you then. I mean, because, Anyway, guys, so this is 3FM 92.7. We're having an interesting discussion. It's actually a special program. We've been given this platform to celebrate women, to celebrate International Women's Day, to talk about women, our achievements, our issues, our problems, our challenges, what we can do to move forward and bridge that divide. This is the International Women's Day edition of The Drive on 3FM 92.7. My name is Nancy Vokania. I'm here with Belinda and AJ Sapon, our celebrity in studio. We will be right back. Whole drive. We've had 1 hour and 10 minutes. We still have 20 minutes to go. We're going to activate the phone lines so you guys can chime in to the conversation. Let's engage and let's talk about women's issues. The phone lines are 0208-227290. That's 0208-227290 and 0592-928795. That's 0592-928795. Call in and talk to AJ, talk to myself, and talk to Belinda. We're all here having a great conversation, so you can talk to anyone, ask your question, and let's get talking. You can also send us WhatsApp on our WhatsApp line 055-005-2927. 055-005-2927. Get your messages coming through. Hello. I think we lost this caller. Do call us back. Hello. Hello, caller.
Yes, hello.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah. So who are we speaking to and where are you calling from?
My name is Yuri. I'm calling from East Legon.
Hi, Yuri. What's your contribution?
Yeah, I just want to say thanks for all the things that the women in our society are doing for us, and I love the conversation you're having. I've been waiting patiently for the lines to open. But then I want to add to the conversation is that I always say that 99 plus 1 is 100 and 50 plus 50 is 100. So as a society, we shouldn't be looking at who is doing what, but rather our focus should be how things, will be done. Because when you train just the lady to take up managerial role and then you relegate that of the male, it's just saying people who will grow up to marry each other. So if we believe that our women or the ladies will complement the male, then we should bring all of them together, in both hands, so that when I grow up, knowing very well that I've been trained, I'll be looking forward to meet, a lady who has also, be trained very well. But if we put to say, okay, let the woman do it and let the males sit down, when they grow, it's the same male they are coming to marry, and vice versa. So as a society, we shouldn't be,
we shouldn't just empower women. We should also empower men.
To do the male and the female agenda wouldn't help us. We should try and to build a society, on both sides, so that to be a good place to live.
Thank you so much, Yura, for calling. I think Yura has a bit of an issue here. He's trying to say, well, we've been empowering women for 20, 15 odd years.
Not
What's
enough.
happening to our men?
Not enough, because it's a man's world. How many men get access to school as against women? How many girls are still dealing with underage marriages?
We do have another caller on the line. Hello, caller.
Hi, good evening.
Yes, good evening. What's your name and where are you calling from?
My name is Kojo. I'm calling from Adenta.
Kojo from Adenta.
Yeah.
All right, Kojo, what's your contribution?
Okay, so...
or do you have a question for anybody?
Again?
Do you have a question for Belinda, for AJ?
Oh, no, it's just a contribution I want to make.
Great.
Just a contribution.
Carry on.
Okay, so, happy Wednesday to all of you out there.
Thank you.
Little thing I want to chip in is that as women, you need to come together and have a formidable front so that you can not necessarily battle men, but when you're together as one, it's quite difficult for them to. But unfortunately, like AJ, you see other girls. I'm not saying AJ, but I mean the celebrities. You see them shading each other, and then they allow the men to also come in and then save them. So I think women should be a deliberate attempt. Have a formidable force so that we can all edge on and then grow this country together. That's what I want to say.
Thank you so much. That's such a brilliant contribution. AJ, he's saying, well, we have to stop shading each other.
Yes,
comments?
Yeah. I agree to some point that we should be a formidable force. And I think that's what days like International Women's Day do to change the mindsets of women, because some of the women in Ghana and across the world are the biggest gatekeepers of patriarchy and all these systems that have been put in place. Absolutely. Because they don't know any better. They know that they grew up to know that the man is the head, even beyond the biblical version of it. They literally feel that women should not be doing anything, should not have ambition, should not be pushing their way through life, should not be working. So they uphold that mentality because that's all they know. And you can't really fault them because they weren't exposed to more. A lot of them weren't able to go to schools to the fullest level, so that's all they know. So once we change the mindset from the older generation also to the younger generation, we will become a formidable team, and we can push through and actually get equity and equality across board.
Any comments on that, Belinda? Because our caller said, well, we can't just empower women and leave the men on their own because, they're going to grow up and marry each other and so on and so forth. What do you say?
I've forgotten the name of the caller, but basically the only reason why there is a need to empower is because we're not currently in that position. If we were already at the same starting point, this conversation wouldn't exist. There wouldn't be a need for International Women's Day. There wouldn't be a need for us to sit here and have this narrative. But because we're not starting off from that viewpoint, that's why we need to enable women. We need to help women understand that, look, you can rise beyond, you can achieve more, you can take over the world of tech, you can take over leadership, you can go into the office and boss it up, because currently that isn't the narrative. So I do agree, once we are all on that same level, we definitely then work out how we walk hand in hand, or we need to ensure that walking hand in hand is braided into that goal from the onset. But to say that we just need to go ahead and empower everyone at the same time means that the men are only going to get further ahead and we continue to have to catch up. So it doesn't work. It's almost like saying, if I can give this example, if I may. So having grown up in places like Belgium and the UK, something you face is clear racism. You can't have a white person then tell a black person that forget about all this racist talk, we're all the same.
No, we're not.
You know, and this is what I mean. When you know as a black person, these are the things you face. You know that when you walk into an office, the color of your skin is going to be used to analyze the value of work that you can bring to the table. So if you're not in those shoes, you can't speak to it. So the gentleman is speaking from a perspective as a man because he doesn't understand the sort of things that we have to deal with as women to step up to the table.
That's right. This the special edition of The Drive. Giovani Caleb is meant to be in this seat, but today it is us.
The women have taken over.
And we have some people sending in some messages. This doesn't say who it is, but it says, women are battling increasing work pay inequalities and harassment of many forms. What is your advice for a young girl who has just started her national service? Go. AJ.
Wow.
One of the biggest advice anyone told me is always make sure you find an advocate. Wherever
somebody
you are,
who speak for
someone
you.
that will speak for you in the rooms that you can't enter.
That's it.
And that's an unfortunate situation where a lot of women find ourselves in. We have to find someone higher up who can be able to hold your hand through the organizational culture and office politics.
It could be a man or a woman.
A man or a woman.
Right.
But you need to find someone that can speak for you and help you navigate it. It could be someone on your level or someone higher up, but you just need to know or find someone that can be able to do that for you. And also you feel the need or you have to do more. As a young lady now starting off in the corporate world, which I'm assuming she is, you have to be able to prove yourself over and over and over again.
Absolutely.
You can't be lackadaisical in your outputs.
Your
you have
approach.
to consistently put in 150% all the time to be able to be noticed and to be seen as someone capable of doing more work if given the nod to stay in that position. So always learning on the job, always self-improvement, and always ensuring that at least you know someone who can be able to help you direct your path, and that should be something that will help you stay.
I hope this young lady is listening because we're giving you all the apport that you need to get on with your national service and to make your impact. Belinda, what do you say? What advice would you give her?
I will add to that absolutely mentorship and having someone hold your hands through that process is very important, and it's even better when you find someone who looks like you. So finding another woman who's been through the ropes and knows how to navigate the things that you're likely to have to navigate is going to be the best thing. But also going into things like national service or having your first job, you need to have some pretty strong principles. When you don't have principles and when you don't stand for something, as the saying goes, you fall for anything. So you need to know the things that you're going to potentially face, that you know you're not going to stoop that low. I will give an example. If you're a young, beautiful lady and you go work in a particular sector that is very male-dominated, you may have things like sexual innuendos or connotations, or even to the point of harassment coming towards you, all with the guise of, if you do this, I'll give you a raise. If you do this, I'll give you this job. That's when principles and your character come into play. Those things don't form the moment you start the job. You need to come to the table with that. You need to understand that no amount of money should allow me to be in a position where I say yes to something that I ordinarily would never say yes to. So I think this, beyond mentorship, which is very, very important, especially finding other women who can take you through the ropes, even if they're not in that particular place, finding other women in other places, even in other countries that you can emulate and look to. You also have to have strong principles and values and be willing to not drop below that. Yes, there is a level of compromising that needs to take place, you know, needing to mold and fit into specific spaces, but that doesn't mean value needs to drop. That doesn't mean your principles need to go away. And I think that's, for young ladies coming up, that's a very, very important message to hold up to. Know where you're going to, know what it is you want, but know that there are certain things that you are not willing to do to get there. Yes.
I mean, you've heard it all. I hope this young lady's listening to us. I wish we had her name, but we do not. So I hope she's listening. I mean, AJ, you said quite a bit. Belinda, you said quite a bit. I mean, you've heard it all. For me, I will definitely say, because I've been in this process, it's always a learning curve. You learn something every day. You learn how to navigate corporate politics and so on. And that's such a big part of your work. You may not realize it in the beginning, but it really is. You have to have a way. So for me, I think you just have to have a plan, one, you know, and know exactly where you're going or what you want in terms of career goals. And two, you have to be able to speak up. For me, that's very important, because there are many things that have gone unsaid. And because they've gone unsaid, they fester into other things. And I've had to live through that. And you hear comments like, oh, if only you had said this. Or if only you had said something, you know,
it
this whole time.
Set a precedent.
Right. So for me, I think that you might be young. You might be looking for so much. You might be looking for wanting not to offend anybody. But I really think that at this point, this is 2023, you can speak up. You don't need to speak up in somebody's face. You can put up a comment on your social media page and it will say a lot.
But sometimes you do need to speak up in someone's face. I have a perfect example of that. I remember in one of the roles I held a few years back, we had this horrid boss. Yeah. He used to, literally when he comes into the room, everyone starts shaking and goes quiet. He can't even look at, Yeah. And I remember he used to, say for example, if he's eating an orange, he would just throw it at people's head.
No way.
And he made the mistake, the unfortunate mistake of doing it to me once. And I stood up and I said, it may be okay with everyone else for you to behave that way towards them, but I will not tolerate you doing that to me.
That's it.
And to my own surprise, he was like, Belinda, I am so sorry. I am so sorry. No, it won't happen again. It won't. And sometimes you need to stand up for yourself because truthfully, if you took
really
that out, if you took that to HR, for example, that wasn't going to fly for him. And you need to make a point. And I realized he didn't do it to anyone else, certainly not in my presence any longer. So standing up or speaking up to the people who you need to speak to is going to go a long way for you, and is also going to go a long way for
other people. So, I think that's important.
If you can,
say something. Say something. Don't be scared to report anybody to HR. Just go ahead and say something because it makes a lot of difference. We've got other messages. This one says, great discussions going on, guys. Watching you live on Facebook. Hello. Hello. You watching us on Facebook. Ladies, please make this show a weekly affair.
We like
something else. Well, there's a last message that says, what can be done to minimize women fighting women at the workplace? I think we've talked about that. Most of my worst encounters were with my female bosses. This is Hajia from our face. She put it up on our Facebook page. Hello, Hajia. Thank you for listening to us on 3FM 92.7. We've spoken about this issue. We have just about 5 minutes up to the top of the hour.
Can I add a quick thing to that line?
Yes, quickly.
I would just say that to all women listening, right? Just as there is enough space in the sky for all the birds to fly, there is enough space for all of us to succeed.
Right.
We need to stop looking at each other as a threat. We need to stop trying to protect our territory, because if you're good at what you do, you are going to shine through anyway. You don't need to worry about who's encroaching on your space. Just stick to what you do.
Belinda says, mind your business.
Mind your business and mind it well. So once you stick to that kind of focus, knowing that there's enough room for all of us to succeed, and actually, if AJ's already there and she holds my hand and she lifts me up, I'm able to lift Nancy's hands up. We're going to rise up together and we can all shine together.
I like that.
Right. So we have 4 minutes up to the next program, and so AJ, 1 minute. We have to wish some women in our lives a happy International Women's Day. We cannot leave the studio without doing that because people are going to, So AJ, any last words for our ladies, our gentlemen that are listening to us, and who are you wishing International Women's Day?
It's a long list. So many women coming to my mind. Definitely to the incredible women in-house here at Media General, to all our amazing women led by our boss at the top, Madam Beatrice, wishing them, every single person in the building, a very happy International Women's Day. To Anita Eskin, who I consider my mentor.
She's amazing.
She's amazing in every aspect of the word. Mrs. Faustina Ajaga, who is of First Choice Hair and Beauty, an amazing woman who is doing splendid things in the beauty industry for the last 25 years. My mother.
Of course. I was waiting.
Alice Asma. I come from a family of women. My incredible sisters, some I can mention, Ifriye, Ifiadoma, Ikria, Ama, everyone.
Right. So quickly, let's come to Belinda. Belinda, you're having an event, a Tana Women event on April 1.
Yes,
I was going to ask why April 1, but I don't know. I think it's just a date, isn't it?
It's just a date.
Okay, so tell us about this event.
First of all, I would love to see all the women in Ghana come for this. If you thought today was very good conversation, and if you felt today was very empowering, then you must make it to the Atana Women's Conference. The theme is The Elevated Woman. We're giving you all the sorts of information and resources that is going to help you elevate yourself in every aspect of life. We have some amazing speakers gracing our stage, gifting Lady Auntie, Caroline Sampson, Papa Anchors, Papa Nee, Miss Nancy, the other Miss Nancy from here as well will be engaging with us as well. And then we have workshops. One's going to be led by my very own board member Maureen Biney, who is like world-class tech guru. But I also want to ensure that women understand that by coming to these types of events, we are able to pave the way and set the stage, empower ourselves and know and understand how we can put ourselves in positions where we can rise.
I think we are the only ones who get us.
Yes.
We are the only ones who get us. So in the end, you really just have to make the effort. I think these things have to be deliberate. You have to get people to come together.
So the details is it's happening on the 1st of April. It's happening at the St. Giles Conference Center in East Airport. You can get more information by either connecting with us on our website, which is atanawomen.com. Same on socials, Atana Women. You can find the details and buy tickets on there. Or you can, if you're a vendor or if you're looking to sponsor, you can come on board, give us a call on 055-316-1754. That's 055-316-1754. And I hope to see you all there.
We literally have 1 minute to go.
But who do you want to wish?
Well, I want to wish all the women in my life. My mother, my sister, and her 3 daughters. My other sister and her 4 daughters. I could go on and on. All of my friends and all of the women here at Media General. We have lots of women in Takoradi at Connect FM. We have women at Akuma FM in Kumasi. We have women at 3FM. We have women at Onuya TV, Onuya FM, and we have women at TV3. All of the women, all the MG women, as I call them, have a happy International Women's Day. We value you, we love you, and we care. So let's get together and grow this movement and make sure that we're bringing up the little ones to learn how to carry this fire through. So this has been the special edition of The Drive on 3FM 92.7. And by the way, Atana is spelled Atana. Atana Women. Is it one word?
One word.
One word. Atana Women. Right. So we got that right. Do sign up, look up Atana Women on the socials, and let's get all going to this conference. I will be there. AJ will be there. Belinda will be there. Everyone will be there. So do join us. This has been great. Thank you so much, producer Ni Ashale, the massive man himself. Giovani Caleb, of course, has been in the background saying things into my ear that were trying to distract me, but I stood strong. And thank you so much, Mr. DJ, for holding our backs. We will be back another time if we're called upon to carry this conversation through. Happy International Women's Day, and we're out.